Ladies, gentlemen, and tarnished of all ages, how do you feel about fire? Close range fire spewing in small bursts out of your hands! What if I told you that that same fire could deal thousands of damage if you build for it? Today I'm going to take two very similar fire incantations and create an entire playstyle around it. A very strong playstyle around it. And it is of course worth noting that you could take this exact build and just add even more fire incantations to take advantage of all the same buffs. But I find constructing gameplay to be quite fun, so the footage itself will be about maximizing these two incantations themselves specifically. So, what are they? Well, first is Catch Flame, an incantation you can literally start with if you pick the right class, or by the first time that you get to the round table hold. It is a near instant blast of fire at super close range, and the coolest part about its speed is that you can use it in stuff like a sprinting attack, or a backstep combo, or even as a jump attack for some reason, which is just great. Sadly, this doesn't quite count as an actual jump attack for things like Raptor's Blackfeather chest piece though, but it does give you a nice way to follow up when you do use a jump to dodge an attack anyways, as happens quite frequently in Elden Ring. This attack does a load of damage, and damage aside, the genuine speed of it is what makes it silly. Each hit is alright, but the ability to hit it over and over and over again without stopping until you run out of stamina or mana is just silly. For anyone wondering, if you go full dexterity and Radagon Icon Talisman to maximize cast speed, it does make a bit of a difference, but I would argue definitely not enough to justify the slot and stat distribution unless you are like level 250 or 300, just looking for a way to spend some points. The second incantation of focus here is O Flame, which is essentially the big, powerful, upgraded version of Catch Flame. It is way slower and it can also be charged for more damage, but the damage that it does is just insane. It also has that same really short range that Catch Flame has, and so the best way to define where to use each one is simply how large your opening is. O Flame does more damage when charged than Catch Flame can do in the same time period, even when spammed, but for obvious reasons there are just a ton of times in combat that you just don't have a long enough break to fully charge the incantation. And in those moments, Catch Flame is perfect. If you are sprinting or jumping, Catch Flame is the perfect way to combo out of it. Ideally, you want to switch back and forth throughout the fight, aware of your situation and the incoming moves. I actually really like this style of gameplay. The range is almost like fist weapons, but if instead of fists, your hands were made of fire.
爆殺を
そういうのはやめた方がいいわね。
なんでだよ爆発三太郎にしろよ黙って叫び爆殺キャー
違う、そうじゃない。
Of course, this build is just insane against anything that is actually weak to fire, but it is still very good against anything else in the game that isn't straight up immune to fire damage. Even Malekith, for example, is relatively resistant and it tosses him aside with ease. In PvP, unfortunately, the damage of Catch Flame isn't quite enough to one-shot, and the range of O Flame means that you'll rarely, if ever, get a full O Flame charged attack off on someone, even though it would one-shot if it did. That said, Catch Flame is still absolutely silly in PvP because of the sheer speed that you can combo it off of itself. If someone is pure melee and not using something super long like a halberd, they simply cannot enter their own attack range without guaranteed getting blasted for at least a third of their health, depending on resistances. And most often, if you hit one of these, you can hit a second one for free, as most people just won't react fast enough to dodge the second one. Nobody expects this incantation to be as fast as it is, especially when comboed, until they see it for themselves. If someone tries to dodge Catch Flame in a way that keeps them in position to hit you afterwards, you're probably going to hit them with your next Catch Flame before they can hit you with their melee weapon. It's just the way it works because of the timings, and it's really fun. So now that I've got your attention, how does this all come together to work in this way? Well, of course, the main incantations themselves that we've already talked about, but there are also two buffs to make them stronger that would be silly not to use as we already have the stats. And these are Golden Vow for a 15% damage increase for 80 seconds, and then Flame Grant Me Strength for a 20% fire damage increase for 30 seconds. For casting all of them, we are using the Giant Seal. Actually, we are using two Giant Seals. You can only get one of these per playthrough, but the second one is available either if you get a friend to drop it for you, or if you get to it in New Game Plus. For an alternative to use in your first playthrough though, instead carry the Jellyfish Shield in your left hand and then use the Ash of War regularly. This is pretty similar in effectiveness, but means that you have to mind the uptime on the buff and just reapply it whenever necessary, which can be sort of tedious. The armor is purely your choice of fashion, however it seemed apt in my opinion to be fully decked out in the Fire Monk gear. more. The talismans are the Fire Scorpion Charm, of course, which raises your fire damage by 12.5% in exchange for lowering your damage negation a little bit. The Faithful's Canvas Talisman for a 4% damage boost to incantations. The Flock's Canvas Talisman for an 8% damage boost to incantations. And then the last one is the Godfrey Icon Talisman, which raises charge spell damage by 15%. If you find yourself using Catch Flame far more than O-Flame in a particular fight, it is definitely worth considering swapping off of the Godfrey Icon for something like Ritual Sword Talisman instead, provided that you can keep your health nice and full. This is simply because Catch Flame is not a charged incantation, O-Flame is. And then for your Wondrous Flask of Physic mixtures, of course, the important one here, the really important one, is the Flame Shrouding Cracked Tear, boosting all fire damage by 20% for 3 minutes, and it is dropped by the boss at the Erd Tree in Northwest Caelid. The other slot is pretty open and situational. If you want to spam Catch Flame, I would recommend a stamina booster, as the stamina is more limiting than the mana for that spell. But also, if you know you can take the damage, then using the Leaden Hard tier to have a massive amount of poise for the first few seconds to allow you to just spam these two attacks through the pain can do just an incredible amount of work, especially against the correct enemies. Here are the attributes that you want to make this properly effective. It's not really too difficult to grasp either. Simply 80 Faith to hit the soft cap of incantation scaling, 60 Vigor to make yourself comfortable and survivable, and the rest just split between endurance and mind to raise your stamina and FP respectively. Stamina is the most important thing for spamming Catch Flame back to back, but in realistic situations you just won't get through your entire bar in one spam combo as you'll have to dodge. O-Flame, however, consumes very little stamina relative to how much time it takes to cast, so manage your bars as you feel is necessary for how you want to play and what you want to focus. As far as where to get each part, Catch Flame is from Brother Corrin in the Round Table Hold, or his bell bearing later on. O-Flame you can purchase after finding the Fire Monk Prayerbook located at this Fire Monk camp in the southern part of Liurnia. Golden Vow is at the Corpse Stench Shack on the eastern side of Mount Gelmir. Flame Grant Me Strength is behind Fort Gale on the western side of Caelid. The Giant Seal is in the Giant Conquering Hero's grave at the top of the mountaintop of the Giants. Progress through here until you reach a bridge with a shadow troll at the end. Jump off of the bridge, and near the wall on your right side you'll find this seal waiting to be picked up. The Fire Scorpion Talisman is found in Fort Lade in western Mount Gelmir. Once inside, head past the Fire Prelate, in through the door, and up through the stairs in the room, head up the little bridge on the left, and then jump over the side to some wooden scaffolding with this talisman waiting to be picked up. The Faithful's Canvas Talisman is in the Celia Crystal Tunnel behind a couple of bug boys. The Flock's Canvas Talisman you get once you have finished the Millicent questline, one way or another, by then going back to Gary's shack afterwards and killing him where he sits. The Godfrey Icon Talisman is the reward for defeating the boss in the Golden Lineage Everjail, just to the east of the Grand Lift of Dectus. And then finally, the Flame Shrouding Cracked Tear, as mentioned earlier, comes from the Minor Erd Tree in northwestern Caelid. And that just about covers it. How to become a tiny little fire-spraying goblin existing purely to burn your enemies at a range that you can feel the heat radiate off of their bodies. Quite a sadistic build at the end of the day. For anyone wondering, as I do like to name these builds, this one I call the Flame and Go, because of the speed and the range of the fire attacks that we use, as well as the mobility aspect of Catch Flame, and also because it sounds like flamingo, which makes my brain very, very happy. Are you going to use this build yourself? Maybe fill it in with some other fire spells and giant incantations, or even just stick Catch Flame and O-Flame in your otherwise standard build. Like if you like the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.